too many. I got one of those. Oh no. Oh no. Woods is kind of nice because you're just like, go be free. But also, you smell worse than you did when we started. All right, friends. When I was talking to Pastor Todd, he's like, do you want to do a Q&A? And I was like, I don't. Sorry. You can ask questions later, I guess. Or not. But I wanted to invite folks into a practice, a guided meditation together. I just recently graduated from a spiritual direction school. And so I find that sometimes it's nicer to be quiet and to be still and to trust that God, Creator, Spirit, is already speaking to us, and I don't need to add my voice to that. So this is a guided kind of meditation, and it was inspired by a dear friend of mine, Shonda Jha. I wonder if Shonda has been here. She's brilliant and amazing. But we did this during a Reading the Bible for Liberation course, and it was just a really powerful practice that I now come back to over and over again. So the invitation that I want to invite first is, if you want to close your eyes or soften your gaze, always want to say, take a deep breath, and then do whatever your body is asking. So if you need to shift those hips, if you need to pull your tongue off the roof of your mouth and let your jaw relax, if you need to do a little head circle in those places, whatever you need to do. So just want to invite you to breathe and be with your body for just a little bit. And as you do that, I want you just to bring to mind, you don't have to say it, an issue in the world that you care about really deeply. And we're going to come back to it, but I want you just to think of something in your mind. So that could be child hunger, poverty, racism, homophobia, any justice issue that matters. So just keep breathing and settle on the issue that you want to focus on. And this is often called a beloved community meditation, because beloved community is a place that we are all seeking to create, where everyone's needs are met, everyone's gifts are honored. It is a place that is free from oppression and full of compassion. So I just wanted to invite you to keep breathing present to yourself and your body. I want to invite you to envision your favorite landscape. And so maybe it's in the middle of a city, or rural, or in the wilderness. If there is an ocean, can you hear the waves? If there are birds or animals, can you hear them as well? What's the temperature like in this place? Is it windy or sunny? Shaded or raining? And in this place, I want you to imagine a table. And at this table, there are people that you miss very much. These are people who are able to join you that maybe you haven't seen for some time. because you're separated because of distance or schedules or time. Maybe even death has separated you, but they are at the table. And I want you to imagine that you can rest at this table because work has lessened, costs have lessened, whatever barriers have existed, they've been lifted. Recognize how your body responds, getting to be at the table with them. And you can rest at this table because you don't have to worry about making ends meet. You can do whatever makes your heart sing in this place. What do you choose to do? What do you choose to let go of? Now I want you to remember the justice issue that we called to mind. In this place, at this table, that issue has been resolved. People can travel easily and affordably on public transit. In this place, everyone has access to great medical care. People have shelter and food. The land is able to heal itself and the air is clean. Everyone is compensated fairly for their labor. And people can thrive across disability and sex and race and immigration status and incarceration status. In this freedom, who else gets to show up at your table? Who do you get to build community with that you could not before? How is your life blessed by these new relationships? Let's spend just a couple more minutes at the table in your favorite place, surrounded by people that you love and can love. As we prepare to come back together, I want to invite you to find something from this table, from this place, from one of the people that you will bring back with you. gift to hold on to. Take a moment to lift up a word of gratitude to God for the vision that you have created. And offer a prayer that God might help you play a role in making that world real. We'll stay here for just another minute or so. And as we transition to being back, I want to invite you to take another deep breath. To notice your feet on the ground. Notice your bodies in the seat. Maybe a little wiggle or a little shift just as we come back to this space together. I'll just say it was beautiful to watch. Y'all were someplace. There were a lot of smiles, and there was just, I could tell y'all were there. And so just want to invite, we can have a little bit of talk back time so that we can share and think about everybody else's table. But let's just start off. What did you notice? Just what did you notice in the process?
I noticed that I started off with my table quite small and very selective of who I wanted at my table. And as you talked us through it to invite more people onto my table, and how at the end I just felt surrounded by inspiring energy that could make a better world where we could thrive. So thank you.
I love it. Where was your landscape? Where was your table located?
It was in the trees next to a bubbling little stream.
Love it. Yep, it's on.
It was in the forest next to a bubbling little river stream. And my table was filled with lots of inspiring energy.
Anybody else want to share what they noticed?
My grandparents had a lodge on the Russian River. Here we go again. My grandparents had a lodge on the Russian River, and I have taken my children to a campsite near there every year of their lives. And there are trees that have real graceful long limbs and very textured leaves. And when the sun is kind of low, it makes those leaves kind of glow. And that was my table. And as I accumulated these people, most of them were people who have had a powerful influence in my life, although many of them I haven't seen for years. I really experienced, for the first time that I am aware of, feeling calm about that injustice that I constantly am grappling with. Thank you.
As soon as I close my eyes, and this happens other times too when I'm not in meditation, but as soon as I close my eyes, I saw scenes of greenery and beautiful nature. And it was just green, and it was sort of like a ride at Disneyland where I was kind of floating over it, surveying it. And then I tried to settle on an area so that I could set a table, because this didn't think it could be a flying table. But it was, the green just impressed me. It was like life and growth and a natural energy. And when we were first invited to think of people that we would like to include, I went immediately to people that I miss who have passed on, see them again, my parents, my grandparents, my birth daughter, and then I included all the family that that is part of me, not only people like Richard, who is with me all the time, but my children, my adult children that live scattered around the state and one in Arizona. So I was with them, and I felt a lot of warmth. It was like a warmth of inclusion, and when I was focusing on more an area of social justice, that's what I felt like, inclusion, like this was a big table, all were included, and it was a very warm feeling.
Oh, I love
Thank
it.
you. Anybody else?
I'll share. My brain went on this continuum of the literal table versus the theoretical table, and my literal table is reunions and family and, still post-COVID, bringing people back together. And then the theoretical table of, our church and how much we love to set a table in so many different kinds of ways. But where does it stop? We want to nurture each other, but then you expand the table, and how does that work? Like, how do you go back and forth along the continuum, because both are important, right? So I guess that's where my brain, and my happy place is always the 30th Street Beach in Ocean City, New Jersey, where I grew up, and my oldest sister created family for us, and her husband and his family created family for us for many, many, many years, just with open arms, just truly, truly open, wonderful people. And I'm so grateful for that. And I was telling Kara beforehand, I want some of that back, now post-pandemic. So.
There's one more piece I love that I just remembered. Some of the people at my table that showed up were people that I've come across in my life who were in a distinctly different mindset, like the father of a son-in-law who said, "You don't believe in this global warming crap, do you?" And some of those kinds of people. And they came to that table, and it was good.
That's the one I'm wondering, like, was anybody surprised by who ended up at their table? Okay. Mhm. Hey, Bill, can you give the behind you?
I think I was influenced by your sermon, and particularly the presence of our enemies. And I was thinking about, and you all know the name of the author who talked about Abraham Lincoln bringing in the people that were against him and bringing them close. And Barack Obama did the same thing in terms of our government. And all of that made me think, well, who's my enemy? And I think I'm picking up on what you said, Bill, is people that disagree with me, people that I have trouble even talking to. But it was really hard for me to invite them to my table.
Thank you for naming that.
I mean, that's a hard thing to do.
Oh, yeah, that is. But thank you for naming that. You're like, I should. And Howard Thurman has a prayer, Lord, let me want to. So I think sometimes that's the prayer that we need. Can you just help me want to, because I'm not there yet.
Yeah, my experience was a lot like Kira's, where it started with just a few people, and then it kept getting bigger and bigger, and people from various places in my life were starting to come to the table, and we were having a great time, and people kept trickling in. Like, it was never settled. It wasn't ever just all of us just sitting around. It was people kept arriving. And at one point, towards the end, those people started arriving, and the thing that we were doing was offering them food immediately. Just immediately, here, have some of this. And everybody was happy doing that. We weren't talking about the stuff that wasn't, that we didn't have in common. We were talking about the stuff we do have in common. And that's what I feel like gets missing in a lot of this political crap that's going on right now. We don't ever talk about what's in common. We only talk about what the differences are.
Mm-hmm. Was it hard for anyone to imagine a world without the issue that came to mind? So was it hard? I said, in this place, the issue is done. There's no more racism. There's no more poverty. There's no more homophobia. And I'm wondering if for anybody was like, my imagination actually cannot fully imagine beloved community. Did it feel challenging for anyone?
Yeah, for me, I felt like it was just basic enough that we were at the same table. We didn't even get to the issue. We just had to get to a table. And that's where we left it. We didn't get to the place where we were agreeing on anything.
Love that.
My table at first had two people that had passed that I miss a lot. One had passed like 40 years, it was over 40 years ago, and one about 22 years ago. And then there was a person who had passed that I had never met, my mom's mom. And so my grandmother, I never met her. I had that at first. And then I kept thinking, like, who else? And people started trickling in more too. I like that trickle in, and it's like, oh yeah, this person's important to me. The part you asked about with the difficulty with imagining the problems all solved, it felt, when I said, okay, put your mind there, but it felt kind of like a pipe dream, with some of the political stuff that's going on, and that there's some people that are want to take away things rather than add to. And so that part was really hard for me to kind of like, I hope, I hope this is true. But I couldn't see it as a done deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't really formulate my thought. My issue was reproductive and family building freedom. And I have to say that at the table where I was, that everybody there was free to build their families or have the children or not have the children, whatever it was, but it wasn't an issue at that table.
It just wasn't.
It just wasn't.
I found that started off at a place, that was very peaceful on a trip that I always go to when I'm trying to sleep and whatever. But the issue was kind of homophobia, and there was a certain amount of sadness, I thought. And at the table, at one point, I felt that there were people who were laughing at the table, and we kind of got past this issue, but there still was an undercurrent of sadness, and I wanted to protect people that were hurt by this issue. But it did. The table kept changing, and people kept coming and going, but we stayed at that same peaceful place. Yeah. It's good. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'll say. That sounds. There are so many things that are zinging and stirring for me. And I would say one of them is the reason that I am still a Christian. So that's the reason. Because I have to have hope. Because the insane faith of Jesus. And I was looking at actually, my favorite passage is the one that is opened there from Ephesians 2. So I am still a Christian because I do believe that what Jesus did was that he looked at the world and was like, oh yeah, don't swear, Rihanna, I won't swear. The scripture says that Jesus came and acknowledged the enmity. And I feel that it wasn't like, you know what, I'm here now, and everything's just like warm and fuzzy. Like Jesus was like, no, I am gonna get in that. The places of the deepest brokenness and hate and all of those things, and I can be there and create a new world. So that is why I'm still a person of faith. I cling to the new world that is promised. And I think sometimes, especially if we are fighters of justice, who know that we will lose over and over and over, we need to keep training our imaginations of what could be. And not, well, did we have really great debates and did we hashed it all out? No, it was. It was. How? I don't know. But it was. And if I cannot have an imagination of a world where people aren't crying anymore, where everyone is fed, where all of the needs are met, that I could sit at a table that I question first. I'd be like, what the heck are you doing at my table? And they show up and they go, I brought a plate. And I go, why do you bring a plate of my favorite food? Oh, and your favorite food's on the table too. And I see you, and you see me, And yes, we will grieve a little bit. I'm so glad. Like, we will lament and we will grieve all of the harm that has been done and the pain that has been caused, but we will live in this new reality. So that's what I heard a little bit of this, like, it is an exercise of faith to me to continue to say, I believe in this world. I cannot see it. It's not looking good, but I have to hold on to a something. So that's one thing. I also love, love, love that so many folks ended up with ancestors or ended up with folks who, because maybe we forget that we have access to those folks. And I love that you said someone that you had never, ever met, but you knew them and they were there, right? Like you knew, you're like, there's a something here, right? Like there's, hey, like we are connected. And so even to be able to be at the table and access our ancestors. And sometimes when I'm really pushing, I have to sit in that space for a while. I'm like, oh, am I gonna meet my grandbabies at this table? Am I gonna meet the future? Like, that's how big the table is. The table is beyond time, so we can meet our ancestors and we can meet our babies and maybe, I don't know, other parts of creation show up at the table. I just broke my own brain. Hold on, we're gonna bring that back. I don't even know. Like, oh. So that is what I hope. I want to invite y'all to keep practicing. Say, okay, I'm going, all right, Reverend Riana said I have to go back to the table. Go back to the table. And notice, and be curious, and do that. Like, what are you doing here? Like, it's okay to ask that question and then go, do you remember the question? How are you blessed because they are there? Oh, yep, exactly. You can feel it feels gross when I say it too. But can you sit long enough to be blessed by somebody who you would never imagine to be blessed by? It hurts a little bit. And even if the blessing is, when I look at you, you are a beloved of God. That's all I got. I know God is real. That's the blessing. Because otherwise, I also believe in like original sin and some other stuff. But no. I'm kidding. I don't know if I believe in that. I don't really know. But the invitation that I want to offer to you all is to keep going back. And maybe you can go back and the next time that you sit at a table, sit for a little longer, pause in it with the gratitude of like, okay, we can build new worlds at the table. So that is my invitation, my offering to you all. Thank you for letting me be here, hold space.
That was wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Question and answer.
Right?
Oh, my gosh, swing questions and answers.
Sometimes. I did one recently, and this guy was like a little snotty to me, and I was like, no, never mind. We're not doing that. Sweet, but snotty.